Welcome, Coach Moss. Bob, get us started, please.
Hey, Eric. Hope you're enjoying this San Diego-like weather we're having today. Hey, I was wondering if you could give some updates on the injured guys, if any of them might have a shot to play. And it seems like Trevin, maybe his thing's obviously going on for a while. If it might, if he might be out a long term or even be back for the season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that he'll, play this season as long as there's no setbacks. He's been gradually working his way back into the fold. Hopefully, he'll be able to go through some practice today. He has gone through some light stuff of late. And then Jalen Graham will not practice today. Possibly will practice Friday. Both guys, I would say, because we didn't practice yesterday and we haven't practiced yet. I would say both guys nearing a return, whether that's Saturday or Tuesday or the following Saturday, sometime within the next 3 games, we would expect to have both of them back.
As far as how about Keon Menafield?
Yeah, Keon's day to day. I mean,
Okay.
he'll go through whatever he can in practice.
I know you obviously don't like having guys hurt, but one byproduct is it's kind of forced you to keep a pretty tight rotation, which I know you do like doing that. And it's worked out pretty well here of late. Just what have you thought about the rotation? And then how do you work, if the injured guys are ready, how do you work them back in? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, you got to wait till see who's available and who's not available. And, the way that we played the last 2 games, I mean, those guys are going to deserve to, to continue to stay in somewhat of a role. But obviously, if injured guys come back, you want to get them back in the fold as well. So, but it has been, guys kind of know when they're coming in and out of games, and it's been a little bit easier, probably from a coaching standpoint as well as a player perspective, with a shorter rotation, which is why we've done it that way for 9 years. And it wasn't done earlier because lack of consistency, and that's been the one thing with our team that we're continuing to try to be as consistent as we possibly can.
Well, why do you think it's been working so well? Because some of these guys, like KB, didn't play for a while. Ellis has been out of games, and Davenport's really playing well, but he hadn't played. Why do you think this particular group seems to be working so well?
Well, I think like with Battle, I think he's our defensive concepts. He's been much better of late. And so it's when you're not playing as well as you hope, you got 2 things to do. Either you stick to what you're doing, or you try to continue to search and see what can work. And obviously, you guys aren't privy to practices and some of the statistical analysis. We have an outside company that does stuff. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that factors into it. And of late, the group that's been out there has done a good job for us.
Okay, I might have a couple more if time allows, but I'll give it back to Mike. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Bob.
Hutch.
Hey, Eric, I know Missouri's still looking for their first win, but they've played really well the last 2 games at Ole Miss, and then Tennessee, they gave them a scare. Just what have you noticed from them on film that they're doing well these last couple of games?
Well, obviously they got experience coming back. Sean East didn't play for a couple games. He's back and he changes things for him. So their record is not indicative of who they are based on an injury to a really talented player in Sean East. And look, Honor, number 10, and number 55 East, number 35 Noah Carter. I mean, those 3 guys have been starters in this league. So that's a really good nucleus. And then you add in the fact a freshman from last year who's now a sophomore. Aiden Shaw's got experience. Obviously, Connor Vanover's got experience. And then, a guy that is as good as any newcomer in the league is Bates from Indiana. So that was a great pickup for them out of the portal. not a good one, but a great one. And so you look at Bates, Honor, Carter, East, and that's a talented team. And so we've got to bring our A game. We've got to have good transition defense. We've got to do a good job taking care of the basketball. We've got to understand, East and Bates are primary scorers for them, and we've got to try to do a good job on them.
And something you mentioned after the Texas A&M win about how you knew going in that keeping them off the offensive boards was going to be tough, and you kind of practiced on what to do when they got them. It made me think back to your first team that y'all had problems rebounding the ball because of size. Is there any? Were you able to look back at your first team and do anything similar to in that leading up to that preparation, or is it's a completely different situation?
I mean, I think it's completely different. Actually, I think with the lack of size that we've had, because Devo's been playing some power forward for us. I actually think we've done a really good job. I've been happy. You never want to give up double-digit offensive rebounds, but we have worked on trying to go vertical as a second jumper if a team gets an offensive rebound, and we've done I would say we've done a very good job of not allowing offensive rebounds to really, really kill us. And so, and we've slightly rebounded a little better for us offensively, mainly, Davenport's energy on the offensive glass.
Bob?
Yeah, Eric, you mentioned Vano. He's obviously a guy that played here. I thought he did okay in limited minutes the first time y'all played him. What have you seen from Connor this year? And I guess what's it like playing a guy that used to be here?
I mean, you always root for former players, and Connor, such a great young man, and his family's awesome. And so you want him to play well and have great success, not necessarily, when we play him. So
Right.
2 nights, out of the season, because Missouri's a 2-time opponent. But Connor's a great shooter with deep range, and certainly a lob threat, and a great passer. So, you want to try to take away his 3-ball looks. You want to try to pressure the pass because he is such a high basketball IQ player, and has got really good vision for somebody his size.
You guys obviously handled Missouri pretty well there in Columbia. I mean, the final score, I don't think was really an indication of how dominant y'all were. Now you're playing them here. So I think there's a tendency for people to think, well, if you beat a team on the road, you're certainly going to beat them at home. It obviously doesn't always work that way. It hadn't worked that way this year in some SEC matchups. Kind of, how do you approach a game and make sure your guys don't think, well, we already beat them at their place, so we're obviously going to beat them at our place?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that we understand by this stage how hard it is to win a game in the league. It's a super competitive league, and you look at all the close games that Missouri's played throughout the entire course of the season, and we've got to play a great game to beat them. And so, it's an early start. Got to wake up. Got to get your body movement. Got to get your competitive spirit in high gear from the beginning of the game, which we did at their place. But yeah, I mean, this is, beginning of the year when we looked at Missouri's roster and looked at those returning guys, like we have great respect for those guys that we played last year and this year. So, and then like I've mentioned, Bates has just become such a vital pickup for them in the portal, and done a great job scoring the ball in the half court and doing a great job scoring the ball in transition.
And I know you don't want to give away any secrets, but you did a really great job the second time around Taylor after he'd had a big game against you. Do you have some, I don't know, some special stuff for Bates, or do you just try to do better what you tried last time, or kind of without giving away secrets, kind of what's your approach there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always want to take the film and try to evaluate, how you can try to contain a star offensive player on the other team. And certainly we'll come up with some simple rules that maybe that we didn't utilize in game one. And he's a hard player to cover because he goes to the offensive glass. He really gets downhill in transition. He can make a 3, and he can hard dribble drive with either hand. So, but yeah, I mean, we start our prep today and try to get ready for, Bates as well as not letting Honor get 3 balls up, and and then defending, East, who can go east and west off the bounce and can shoot threes off the bounce. And then Carter, we gave up a couple threes. We have to do a better job of closing the airspace against number 35, Noah Carter.
And I know we talked about Mackay some the other night, but I wanted to ask you something else. I know that the TV announcers seemed surprised when he didn't start the second half the other night. And I remember thinking, well, he's playing off the bench. You want to keep him out of foul trouble. But I've had some people say, why didn't he start him? And I said, well, he plays 33 minutes. Who cares? And the other night at State, he fouled out in 23 minutes. So I guess, but since people have been asking me, I said, well, hell, I'll ask Eric. Well, why have you, because he started last year, why do you feel like you want to bring him off the bench right now?
Well, I think he's settled into being super, super comfortable off the bench. I think every player probably wants to start, whether they're playing CYO, AAU, high school, college, pros, FIBA. But right now, there's a great comfort zone on when he's coming into the game and the way he's produced. I don't know why anybody would want to start him, because he's playing the whole game minus 7 minutes, and he's effective the way that he's been used of late. But if it wasn't him, somebody would ask me, why am I not starting this guy? Why not playing? And then you end up playing 11 guys in one half, like I have. Too much.
And everybody say, why are you playing 11 guys at a half?
Yeah.
And,
when we were making Elite Eights and playing 7 guys, it was, why didn't we play 12 guys? The rotation was too short.
Yeah. And man, his free throws, he just looks like he's Larry Bird or something up there. He's just dropping them in like, I think he's improved quite a bit since last year. I mean, having a big man who's going to draw fouls, being such an elite free throw shooter, how good is that? How much of a luxury is that? And why do you think I think he's improved by about 15% or something over last year. Is that just work and practice, or what do you attribute that to?
Yeah, I mean, he does work on his free throws before practice, after practice. He does a really good job of that. I mentioned when he was out this summer with the injury that he was one thing that he was able to do was shoot fouls. He's got really good backspin on his shot, good rotation, good arch, and right now he's a confident player from the foul line. And you did mention, Bob, one of the big keys is that he's drawing a lot of fouls, which is important in our system, and he's a great passer too. So he puts pressure on the defense on how they're going to play our pick and roll coverage, because we do like to put Mitchell in a ton of pick and rolls, both on the wings and in the middle of the floor.
Hey, thanks, Eric.
Touch.
Yeah, I just have one more. You mentioned Davenport and his offensive rebounding just a second ago. He also had a couple of steals and he had 9 points, but his 3-ball isn't falling. Just how important is it that he's still able to find ways to contribute and help y'all even when the 3 isn't falling?
Yeah, I mean, the makeup of our roster, we don't have size-wise kind of that swing guy that we've had a whole slew of them, from Moody to Stanley to guys that are 6'7", 6'8", and so JD's kind of the closest thing that we have, and he's done a really good job of playing both the small forward and the power forward for us. He plays with some energy, some juice, and although it hasn't been the shooting season that he probably hoped or that we had hoped, he's certainly providing a lot of stuff for us on a nightly basis that maybe doesn't show up on the stat sheet.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Thanks.